Welcome to the club.
War and Peace. You know, the title alone is epic. It's huge, maybe even a little intimidating, right? But what if I told you that to really get this masterpiece, you have to understand that the real battles aren't just fought with cannons, but also in ballrooms? Let's break down Tolstoy's epic by exploring its two great and, believe it or not, surprisingly similar arenas of conflict.
And boom, this is where Tolstoy drops us. No warning, straight into the aftermath of a battle. There's no fanfare, no triumphant music. Just this raw, sensory overload of pain and darkness. You can almost feel the cold seeping into your bones, hear those sounds, smell the gunpowder mixing with the night air.
And right from the get-go, Tolstoy just completely flips the script on all those heroic war stories we're used to. He's showing us point-blank that war isn't some grand chess match played by brilliant generals. Nope, it's a terrifying, confusing storm, and right at its center are individual human beings just trying to figure out what is going on.
And this is the question that unlocks the entire novel. Tolstoy's suggesting that there's this other kind of war, a social one, that's every bit as brutal, with consequences that are just as profound. A war fought for fortune, for reputation, and for power in the glittering high society salons of St. Petersburg.
So, what does this reality of war actually look like on the ground? Let's start there, on the front lines, where we're going to meet a hero who doesn't even know that he is one.
Okay, so just picture this scene. This isn't a victory parade. It's a retreat through total darkness. The wounded are everywhere, not being carried on stretchers, but literally dragging themselves through the muck. And we zoom in on this one young officer, Nikolai Rostov, pale and just shaking. The soundtrack here isn't trumpets, it's just this constant anonymous groaning. This is the raw, unvarnished price of battle.
And this quote, wow, it takes us right inside his head. Rostov, this young guy who probably dreamed of glory in charging the enemy, is now just a boy. He's wounded, he's alone, and he's filled with this profound, soul-crushing regret. He's not thinking about the Tsar or the motherland, he's thinking about his warm, safe home, just wondering what on earth he's doing here.
Now here's where things get really interesting, the disconnect between perspectives. Back at headquarters, the generals are just looking at a report, tallying up the numbers. For them, it's simple. 2 cannons were abandoned. That's a failure, a black mark on the ledger. But Prince Andrei, who was actually there, saw something completely different. He saw a small company, totally abandoned and left to fend for itself, that fought until 2/3 of its men were gone.
And this becomes such a pivotal moment. Prince Andrei actually speaks up. He defends this humble, unassuming Captain Tushin, who's about to be chewed out for losing those cannons. And with this one act, Andrei completely redefines heroism for us. It isn't about those grand, glorious charges. It's about the quiet, steadfast endurance of an ordinary man doing his duty against impossible odds, completely invisible to the men in power. And just as we see this little flicker of real, authentic virtue on the battlefield, Tolstoy just yanks us away. We leave all the mud and the blood behind, and we travel to another world entirely, where the fighting is of a very different, but no less serious kind.
So, welcome to the salons of St. Petersburg. The weapons here? Oh, they're wit, influence, and strategic matchmaking. And the generals? Well, they command armies of gossip and social pressure. I mean, just look at the stakes. On the front lines, soldiers fight for survival, for their comrades, for a sense of duty. In the salons, the conflicts are all about inheritance, advantageous marriages, and social standing. What Tolstoy wants us to see is that for the people involved, these battles feel just as life or death.
So let's meet our commanding officer of this social war, Prince Vasily Kuragin. And Tolstoy's description here is just brilliant. Vasily isn't some mustache-twirling villain. He's just a man who has so perfected the art of social climbing that it's become an instinct. He sees an opportunity, a wealthy heir, a powerful connection, and he just moves, naturally, without thinking about good or evil, simply because it's what he does.
And here we have his masterpiece campaign, securing the incredibly wealthy but kind of clueless Pierre for his daughter. I mean, look at these steps. This is pure military strategy. First, he isolates his target, cutting him off from any other influences. Then he launches a charm offensive. He deploys his weapon, the absolutely stunning Helene. He applies pressure through public opinion, until finally he moves in for the kill, trapping Pierre and declaring the engagement a done deal. It's a flawless social siege. And the results of all this? Poor Pierre, our unsuspecting target, is completely overwhelmed. He's a casualty of this war. He doesn't even feel like he's made a choice. The social pressure is so immense, the expectations so total, that marrying Helene feels like this unavoidable fate, something that just happens to him.
So what happens when you're caught in the crossfire of society's expectations? Pierre's story is one path, sure, but Tolstoy gives us another one, showing that resistance, while incredibly difficult, is actually possible.
You see, Prince Vasily isn't one to rest on his laurels. He immediately launches a second campaign. This time, the objective is to marry off his good-for-nothing son Anatoly to the very plain but very, very rich Princess Maria.
And this whole affair is just a cold, calculated transaction. For Anatol, this is just an amusing little trip, nothing more. He has zero interest in Maria. In fact, he immediately starts hitting on her pretty companion, and just like that, the whole charade just comes crashing down. Maria walks in on Anatol with her companion, and in that single moment, the ugly illusion is completely shattered.
So this is the crucial point, right here, this contrast. Both of these characters are trapped by this social machine. But look at how they respond. Pierre just succumbs. He convinces himself it's too late, that, hey, maybe he even loves her, and he just passively accepts his fate. But Maria, despite all the pressure from her family, makes an active choice. After she sees the truth of Anatol's character, she finds this inner strength to just say no, to choose her own path.
So all of this, the battlefield and the ballroom, it all builds to Tolstoy's central idea. By forcing us to compare these two arenas, he's really making us ask ourselves, what does it actually mean to be good? What is true heroism?
Okay, so let's put these two victors side by side. On one side, you have Captain Tushin. His method? Quiet duty and self-sacrifice. His outcome? He gets reprimanded by his superiors, but he's recognized as a true hero by the one man who actually saw what he did. Then you have Prince Vasily. His method is manipulation. His outcome? He wins. He secures a massive fortune and enhances his family's status. Society actually rewards him for his ruthlessness.
And this, right here, is the core insight. Tolstoy is telling us to look past all the shiny objects. True human value has absolutely nothing to do with medals or titles or how much money you have in the bank. It's not about winning in the eyes of the world.
Instead, he says it's found in these small, often completely unseen moments. The simple compassion of Tushin helping a wounded soldier. The moral courage of Prince Andrei standing up for what's right. The quiet self-sacrifice of Maria, choosing her own integrity over a brilliant but empty marriage. It's about finding your own moral compass right in the middle of the storm.
So, in the end, war and peace aren't two separate states of being. They are the twin settings for the great human drama. It doesn't matter if you're on a smoke-filled battlefield or in a glittering ballroom. The fundamental tests are exactly the same. How will you act under pressure? What do you truly value? Who are you going to choose to be?
You know, Tolstoy's genius was in showing us that the most important battles aren't always the loudest ones. They're the internal struggles, the moral choices we make every day, the conflicts fought for integrity and love in the quiet arenas of our own lives. Which, of course, makes you wonder, what are the unseen battlefields that are defining you?